This lesson is focusing on ratios, just comparing two numbers. Any ratio can be written as a fraction, and two ratios that have the same value are equivalent ratios. So for my first example, I'm going to ask you to write the ratio 15 to 9 in simplest form. So first of all, we're going to rewrite this ratio as a fraction. 15 to 9 is really the fraction 15 ninths. That word to, to, is the same thing as a fraction bar. So we can just translate the word to into our fraction bar. Now I have my ratio, I turned that into a fraction, and now I need to make it in simplest form. So I need to ask myself, is there any common factors between 15 and 9? The common factor that I can see here would be 3. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 3 goes into 9 3 times. So again, you just take out the common factor 3 from the numerator and the denominator, just like how we normally simplify fractions. And then we're going to get our answer 5/3. Now you have to ask yourself, is there any common factor between 5 and 3? Well, the only common factor between 5 and 3 is 1, so we know that 5/3 is our answer. It's in simplest form. Now for my next example, we're going to discover if two ratios are equivalent. So for example 2, I'm going to ask you to decide if the ratio 3/4 and 12/16 are equivalent ratios, meaning are 3/4 and 12/16 equivalent fractions? As you can tell, ratios are the same as fractions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross multiply. And if you can remember from a couple chapters back, this is how we were able to compare fractions to decide which fraction was larger. But this time we're just going to decide if they're equal to each other or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 4 times 12. Notice I'm going from the bottom to the top and I'm crossing 4 times 12. And I'm going to put 48 right on top of the 12. And then I'm going to multiply 16 times 3. To make 48. And because 48 equals 48, I can say they are equivalent. If you had numbers that were different, you would say that they weren't equivalent. So in order to find out if your ratios are equivalent, all you have to do is cross multiply, see if you have the same number, and then you're good to go from there. And that brings me to the end of the lesson.